Guylaine Normandin is the Director of Supporting Artistic Practice at the Canada Council for the Arts. Felipe Diaz is the Manager of the same program. And Lean Danil is a Program Officer with the Supporting Artistic Practice program. Welcome to the Bibliophile.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Our program is all about books, everything to do with books. So a government program that you run has something at least to do with books. It's one of the, is it 6 elements that you fund? And in 2017, there was a change to the funding structure, which in fact is why I'm here. I talked to a number of publishers across the country, and I would say they're a bit troubled by the change. So what I'd like to do is to get an idea of exactly what the new program, it's not really a new program, but as I say, it seems to be referred to as a new program out there, simply because the old program, I guess, was around for so long. And it seemed to have been working quite well. As I say, a lot of the publishers that I spoke with said, why are they changing it? It's not broken. So I guess the first question is, did you consult with industry when you made these changes?
Yes, there was some kinds of consultation that happened with the community, but the thing to focus on here is that it's not so much whether or not the old program was broken. The way that I feel we need to address this is that the old program itself didn't really respond or wasn't clear for us as to how we, as an organization, the Canada Council itself, was meeting its objectives. So we have a mandate to support and promote the arts in Canada, and once we started to talk to ourselves about that mandate, to start to question, are we doing that? Are we meeting the objectives that we need to meet? Are we investing correctly in the community so that we are supporting the artists, supporting...
What are those objectives?
What are the objectives?
Yeah.
Well, each one of the programs at the Canada Council has its own objectives.
So the book publishers program, what are the objectives?
I'd like to maybe even go prior to that.
Okay.
The change, I would like to put on the table that the change is not about the publishers. The change is not about the books. The change is about the council as a funder, how we articulate our support to various artistic practices to the benefit of Canadians. For
not the benefit
years,
of the publishers?
No, of course not. This is public money. It's for the benefit of Canadians.
Okay.
I think it has to be clear. Of course, who gets the grants? It's the artists, the publishers, the festivals, etc. But that's another story. I think we need to look at the structure of the council, and for 60 years the council has been developing programs and initiatives especially to serve a particular milieu or a particular ecology. And as the needs and the communities grew, we ended up with a multiplicity of programs.
Mm-hmm.
We had over 140 individual programs before restructuring.
Programs for what? For everyone?
For everyone.
Yeah,
140 programs, and every time there was a new need, we would create a new program, and they would pop up like mushrooms.
Yeah, so you're streamlining.
So we're streamlining, and we are no longer about a particular community, but about a phase in the spectrum of activities that happen in artistic creation. So you have the research and creation, you have the production of work, you have the support to the infrastructure, you have the circulation of the work and ideas and artists in Canada and abroad. So it's none of our programs at the moment is disciplinary. None of the programs is tailored to dance or literature or architecture.
You still have the book publishing program, though.
It's an exception.
Okay.
It's really an exception.
But it's also, I would add, it's a component of a program.
Voilà.
So the program itself is multidisciplinary. It is about supporting, like we're in supporting artistic practice. The objective of that program is supporting the community, supporting the artists of all stripes, of all disciplines.
Yeah.
And within that, there is one component.
Okay, which is what we're here to talk about.
Which directs itself towards the way that literary publishers support that community.
Right.
So it's not about publishing books, it's about supporting the writers.
So you're going to phase out
No.
the name book publishing?
No?
No, but it relates to supporting who creates the work. So what we support publishers for is not to produce the books.
Mm-hmm.
Or not solely to produce
Not solely
books.
to produce the books. You're right,
Okay.
Felipe.
Yeah.
It's what they do to support the development, the career, the circulation
Okay.
of the writers.
Exactly.
So let me just get this straight then. The publisher is not an artist in your vision of the artistic world. The writer is the artist. The publisher is a facilitator to help that writer get their work to the market. Is that what you're saying?
In the same way that one would say that about a gallery
Or a festival.
or a festival.
Or a movie. Movie director.
No, a movie director would be considered an artist, but the production company...
No, but
that
the
supports-
actor should be the artist.
The director is also an
The
artist.
director, we would
But
argue...
the publisher isn't an artist?
No, the publisher is the support system behind it that helps artists to... I mean, yes, they make creative decisions for sure in the creation of books. Nobody's denying that.
Mm-hmm.
But literary publishers, the institutions themselves, are there to support the arts around them. And so that's what we support when we're supporting literary publishers, the way that they intercede into the arts communities, the way that they intercede into the community of artists, providing professional development for writers, providing touring opportunities, providing promotion, providing network, providing doing the publishing of their books.
And supporting them through the process
Exactly.
of editing the book, of the process of making it the final
Sure.
product.
Okay, maybe I should bring in Lauren Pierce here, one of the greatest Canadian publishers of all time. He was the publisher of the Ryerson Press. So what Lauren Pierce said in On Publishers and Publishing, I'm reading from my signed copy here. This is published in 1951. It's just a little paragraph. From the dawn of publishing, those who shaped the course of the profession were artists and craftsmen of a high order. They sought out great prose and living poetry so that they might give them to the world in the most fitting, inevitable, and felicitous form. They desire that it should appear if paper, typography, illumination, and binding had not merely come together to honor the shining text, but that they burgeoned out of it the very flower of the hidden spirit of the author. Like the cathedral builders, they patronized all the arts and shepherded them into one supreme manifestation of beauty.
That is absolutely beautiful, and that is why we support book publishing.
Very good. Okay. Well, I just was getting the sense maybe that you support writers, but you also support publishers.
We
and
do.
you plan to continue to do so.
Yeah.
We have this new funding model that is a very drastic transformation of the way we've been operating.
Yeah.
We're just embarking into it. We have no intention of changing it again anytime soon.
Okay.
And I would add too that if we start to look at the slate of programs and components that we have for the arts in Canada, literary publishers themselves, they don't just have access to the literary publishing program, the two little components in supporting artistic practice.
Right.
There are all kinds of other components that they have access to now, which they didn't have before, to help them.
I mean, this is thanks to the new program?
Yes, exactly.
They've got a whole bunch more programs they can
Yes.
apply for.
Yeah. So, for example, professional development for arts professionals, which is a nice little program which allows professionals, arts professionals like publishers, to be able to go and take professional development for themselves so that they can serve their communities better, so that they can help the arts in Canada to develop further.
Mm-hmm.
So in the old model, we thought a lot about literary and literary forms within one discipline that had a few programs for that community. Now we have to think about it as more diffuse. It's disseminated throughout all the different programs, and there are different ways that we can help the community of literary publishers and writers to do the work that they want to do.
Okay.
And strategic funds too.
Yes, yeah.
For projects, you mean? For each?
I'm thinking of the Digital Strategy Fund,
Okay.
which is available to everybody. You know, literature, dance, theater, music, name it. So the fact that the opportunities are more equal for the different fields of practice is also an advantage of this model. It was
Publishers never
siloed.
had that before.
No.
This is new for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm a publisher. I want to get some help, or I want to get some grants. What do I do?
You create a profile in
Yes.
our portal.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the very beginning.
You
Okay.
start by creating a profile, and that through that you only have to do that once.
Okay.
Once that's done,
You can change it, though, I assume, if you want
you
to.
can always go in
Yeah.
and adjust your profile. You'll enter it, you'll submit it. You should probably read the criteria over carefully first to make sure that you meet all the little eligibility points that we have in there.
Yeah.
That will go to a program officer like Lean here, who will review it. And if you meet the criteria, then you're in and you can start applying for grants almost immediately. If you don't meet the criteria, we would let you know why, and then you can work on your profile. You can resubmit as many times as you want until such point as that it finally starts to make sense with what we're trying to do as well.
Okay, so let's say I publish literary nonfiction.
Sure.
For example.
Just for example.
For the sake of it.
I've noticed on your site that literary nonfiction is eligible.
Yes.
And there's a famous case now, it was in the Globe and Mail back in June, about Ken Whyte wanting to take over or purchase Porcupine's Quill.
Yep. I remember.
He was going to change the direction of the company,
Right.
but that direction was in the direction of literary nonfiction.
Yep.
And I guess I'm not exactly, maybe you could fill in the rest.
Sure, yeah. I can start by saying that the issue around that particular case was not actually tied to the literary nonfiction, what he was trying to do in terms of the kinds of books that he wishes to publish or how he wishes to publish them.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the issue that was at the heart of that. The concern there was that the press that he was trying to acquire had a particular service agreement with us. Had a particular service agreement with us, and we were trying to make sure that in that instance that the objectives of the program were still being met. So what it was, service.
I think we need to stop. I think that there are certain things that are protected under the law between an applicant and a funder. So if the applicant wants to talk to you about his particular case, it's one thing.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to do that. So we are not able to talk about this particular case. What we can talk about is how we look at acquisition. We can do that, but we cannot discuss this case in particular. We're not allowed to.
Okay. I'd say it just causes a bit of concern because the headline on that article was particularly for publishers who are aging, who have been encouraged by the Canada Council in a 2005 report that you commissioned that said that there was going to be an upcoming succession crisis, and that this was a vital aspect of organizational health. And this is what this particular publisher, who we won't mention, was trying to put some kind of succession plan in place.
And we're all for succession plans.
But I think we have to make a difference between succession and acquisition.
Yeah.
Because succession is about continuing the organization, making sure that it is meeting the needs of the artists around it. From our perspective, because that's what the grant is about.
So the grant is about publishing books, no?
No, it's not. No. The objectives of the program are to support the community. That's why we're saying networking, publishing, conferences, there's all kinds of activities that are all supported through this program, not just the publishing of books. And therefore...
But under this very specific program, the book publishing program...
Component,
that's the only thing I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about all the other stuff, unless, of course, a publisher is eligible to receive or apply for funding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't take it personally, but I'm here to talk about books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're asking us a question about a particular file.
That you can't talk about.
We cannot discuss that
Okay.
file, but we
Right.
can discuss the concept of succession and acquisition if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested.
If you are not interested,
No,
we
I'm-
can
I'm-
go to
I'm-
another subject.
No,
And that's fine.
I'm interested in this particular case. As I say, this particular publisher was trying to put something together.
Nigel,
Yeah.
we cannot comment on a particular case. So
Right.
We'll stay in the larger...
General, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Fine, okay. Let's get back then to me, the publisher who wants to take advantage of your programs. I've filled out my profile.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do next?
So then
I go and see Lynn or someone like Lynn.
well, you would have a conversation with Lean about how you would like to approach and take advantage of our programs.
Right.
So most publishers start with a project grant application of some kind, typically through the literary publishers project grants. So they would do that. You have to do that for a couple years, and then once you get through that process, then we can start to have a conversation about core support.
Yeah, how long does it? At one point, maybe this is the old program. It took 5 years before you became eligible for core funding. Has that changed now?
No. Well, yes and no. Sorry. You have to have 3 project grants within the last 5 years in order to be eligible. So you have to be successful 3 times within the last 5 years.
On your project version
Yep.
grants. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in that circumstance, we have deadlines in which we accept new applicants. Sorry, Lean, did you have something to add?
Yes, sorry. I believe it's actually 2 publishing project grants in the last 3 years.
Thank you. That's
So that's a change. That's making it easier.
I mean, I think the qualifications for core funding for the different components are a little bit different for each component. So in this particular case, in order to qualify for core funding for the literary publishers, it's 2 publishing project grants from the Canada Council in the 3 years before the application is what you would need, along with other criteria.
So 2 and 3 years compared to 3 and 5 years is probably, yes, a little easier.
yeah.
And we have
Okay.
more deadlines than we used to.
Yes.
That's something that the new funding model in general, was aiming at is to have more opportunities to apply. So if you have one deadline a year or one deadline every 2 years, you have less opportunities. So we wanted it to have more entry points. So there are the project entry points that have many deadlines. We have the core entry points. We have various ways to get in at different times of the year. So it's more flexible, more accessible.
Okay. So is there a jury that then determines whether or not the publisher will get this grant or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. In all our programs, there's except for the internally reviewed travel grant programs, which are another case altogether. They are reviewed by a committee made up of members from the community itself. So you have a peer assessment committee that comes in. We present all the applications. The committee is made up of other publishers, writers, and other individuals who might work in the sector.
Okay.
And they review all the applications, and then they make recommendations as to what those results are going to be.
And who determines how much the actual dollar amount awarded is?
It depends on how many dollars there are. So we have a delegation of authority. So up to $100,000 is the director of the program.
That's you?
Yeah. With the recommendation of the officers and the analysis
Yeah.
of the budget
Yeah.
and the budget available and the number of
So-
successful candidates, etc. Over $100,000, it goes to my director general, and over $500,000, it's the board who makes the final decision. It's always been like this.
Okay, so the jury says yes to this particular publisher. You then say, okay, they only get 50,000 instead of 100,000.
It's not quite as simple as that.
Okay.
Because what happens is our program officers, when they're in the room with the committee, we ask the committee what
The jury, you mean?
the
Yeah.
peer assessment committee.
Committee, okay.
We ask them, what do you think? Give us some ideas about how you think this should roll itself out. So then the officer, who also has a scan or has an eagle eye perspective on the whole sector, starts to look at it and starts to allocate funding, making a recommendation again based on what the peer assessment committee said, always following their ranking and their recommendation, makes a recommendation to the director. The director then reviews that, and there's a conversation that's had where we fine-tune that result, and then the director could sign off on it at that point.
And there are many considerations going along with that. The first one is how much the publisher has requested. We are not able to give more than what is requested. So that's one consideration that's very important. The ranking too, I mean, if you rank first or if you rank at the bottom, the recommendation will be slightly different. How reasonable your ask is compared to your activities and what the available budget for the particular component is. And of course, it's always a comparative. And also each program has a maximum amount. Each component has
each maximum amount for
a
the
grant.
whole,
For the
whole.
grant. So sometimes it's an amount.
Right.
In the case of publishers, if I remember well, it's $250,000. That's the maximum amount a publisher can receive yearly.
Mm-hmm.
In other programs, it's a percentage of their overall budget. So it varies from component to component, but you cannot give more than the maximum, right?
No.
So, and if an organization asks for $100,000, you cannot give them $120,000.
No, of course not. Yeah.
There's that, and we try, as long as it's eligible and reasonable, we try to award an amount that is as close as possible to the request.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you with absolute certainty that at the last deadline, the last core grant deadline that we had for the literary publishers, the amount of money that we were left with was minuscule. It was.
Well, that's good. You spent it all then.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the total budget, by the way?
Oh, I can't remember off the top of the head.
We can follow up with that.
Yeah.
If you need
Sure.
to.
Yeah. Okay.
But we definitely spend it all. There's,
Okay.
there's nothing. There's no value to us holding on to it. It all goes out into the community.
And again, you mentioned that there's something like 220 in total that you fund.
Thereabouts. Yeah. Again, we can give you more precise numbers.
Why are certain non-fiction books from university publishers, for example, being ruled ineligible?
Well, I guess the first thing to do is to read Canada Council's mandate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our mandate is not to support science or education or other fields. It's to support the arts.
I thought you said it was to serve the reader as well.
Through the arts, of course.
Yeah, and
Through the
so
arts.
Yeah.
no, I understand that. So you're saying that a non-fiction book by a university press is not the arts.
There's literary production from university presses that are eligible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got lots of examples.
Okay.
But a dictionary
Yes. Yeah. No.
would not be eligible. Or a school manual would not be eligible, or etc.
Is there anyone at the Canada Council that champions a strong creative publishing industry? Or not?
I don't understand your question.
I'd say we all
We all do.
because it's about again it's about making sure that the community is strong, making sure that there's services for writers to do the work that they're going to do, making sure that there are good quality books to put into the hands of Canadian readers.
No, I'm not questioning your devotion and your goodwill toward the publishing industry. It's just that when I talk to people in the publishing industry, they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting a bit of a disconnect here. That's why I came in the first place.
I've talked to a lot of happy people so far. I was in Frankfurt recently. I was at Salon du Livre de Montréal.
Okay.
There are a lot of happy people as well. You should talk to them too. It's more pleasant. But also, I think we need also to shift our minds.
Yeah.
We are championing Canada Council and the support to the whole ecology. There are no more disciplinary sections. It's gone. It's over. All our programs are non-disciplinary. They're open to everyone. They are more holistic. They're not tailored to a particular community within a community as they were before.
But
And
book
I
publishing
tell
is
you,
is the exception, is that what you're saying?
There's one component
I see. Okay.
in supporting arts practice. And I gotta tell you, I worked at Canadian Heritage for 14 years. And I did manage three non-disciplinary programs. One is arts presentation, the other one is cultural spaces, and the last one is building communities through arts and heritage. And those programs, being non-disciplinary, are much more equitable, much more open, much more inclusive, and they follow the ebb and flow of the community and the ebb and flow of the development of each sector, instead of being stuck and then not being able to move because it takes forever to change a program. So this model will respond a lot better to how every community and every milieu is going to evolve within, because the boxes are big instead of having a whole bunch of mosaic little boxes. That's the way I see it.
Have you said everything you want to say about the new program to the literary publishing sector?
I think if we're going to add anything else to what we're going to say about this is, when you look at the old programs were definitely focused a lot on book production. That was the focus. But in the new program, or in the current programs, I feel that we're trying to explore ways that we can help the publishers with more activities. To think when publishers are thinking about our programs, they shouldn't just be thinking about book production, but they should also be thinking about the different ways that they can support the community. Again, networking activities, conferences, workshops, professional development, book tours. We have all kinds of ways that we can create a more dynamic, more inclusive, more accessible Canadian arts and writing communities. And
there aren't any really big Canadian publishing houses, though, are there? Wonder why that is.
Big.
You've been funding them for 50 years. I just wonder why. I mean, well, big compared to all of the foreign companies that are active. We wonder why there isn't one.
I don't know.
I think you know what? Honestly, I think that question is actually more appropriate for PCH. That's for Heritage.
Yeah.
That's because the great big industry, those publishers, are best served by the book fund, and it's the book fund where they interact most with government. The presses that we support here aren't necessarily the big industry ones that there's no Penguin Books here.
No, but that's the point. In Canada, we've got like 4 or 5 foreign-owned multinationals, and then we've got all these small publishers that you help.
Right.
That's about it.
We're not here to build a giant multinational corporation.
No.
We're here to support the arts, the literary arts, and so quite a few of our presses, do hand printing processes, focus on very niche communities that and the ways that they might wish to express themselves through literary arts. Indigenous communities, for example. That is where the Canada Council wants to be, and that's where we want to be working. We can't really be a player to build a giant multinational.
No, but
we just don't have the scope or the scale to do that.
No, but the idea of serving as some sort of incubator for larger companies that employ more people. I don't know. Maybe not. It's an arts focus that you have, though.
Yeah.
What about the poor writer who's only making $9,000 a year?
Well, we have a very strong research and creation program, and the good news about the new funding model is that more and more resources are going to be available for individual artists, writers included. And we were in a situation for many years where as much as 80% of the budget of grant budget of Canada Council was given to organizations, and the rest was given to individuals. We're switching the balance. We're really going to switch the balance, and by 2021, half of the budget will go to organizations for core funding, and the rest will go for projects, including, of course, the individual artists. So there's going to be more resources available for individual artists and projects.
Not less for book publishers, just more for individuals? Is that it?
That's correct.
We're not reducing the amount of money. We're just allocating our increases to other sectors.
I see, because you did get a big increase from the Liberal government when they came in.
And it's incremental. So we did not get a doubling of the budget in 2016. It's over a period of 5 years. So by April 2021, our budget will have doubled, and the way we allocate those increases will make it more evenly balanced. We also committed that most of those resources are not going towards administration or building or whatever. It's going to grants. So more resources will be available, and at the same time, there's more resources available for organizations who will be better equipped to offer better working conditions to the artists. I think that it's also a collective effort to look at the conditions for artists in general in this country, the writers, of course, the dancers as well, with their short careers. It's a collective effort from the arts councils, from the community itself, from the governments, from society in general, because it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of talent, it's a lot of very educated people, and I agree that they are not compensated the way they should be, for sure.
As far as the actual department itself, I'd heard that a number of people had left because of the changes. Is that not true?
You know, people move within council, within an organization, and people leave, change or no change.
And you've been in the program, because we're talking about sort of corporate memory or depth of knowledge. You've been working in the program for how long, specifically in the book?
In this program?
In the book.
Very short period. It's been what?
Maybe like
3 months?
3 months, yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
But I've been part of the design team of the new funding model as a former director of the theater section. And then I've been also former director of the Arts Abroad and Arts Across Canada program as well. So
and Felipe, you've been involved in the book program for how long?
Well, I've been with supporting artistic practice since its inception.
Which was?
So since 2016, 2017, so like a year and a half, I think it's been, or something like that.
Okay.
But I would also add that the officers that we have, we have officers who have been in literary arts for all their lives. Lean here has that's her experience.
Her long life.
Some of the other officers we also have long experience, and we rely a lot on them and their knowledge in order to be able to come to the decisions that we do, and it's their expertise that really does help us to make relevant and appropriate decisions.
Okay, final question, and that is, okay, I should be hanging out with happier publishers, I guess. But
They exist.
What have you got to say to the unhappy ones?
Talk to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a program officer, I work directly with the publishers, and so I would encourage anyone who
Have you
has
heard anything
questions for us.
good, bad, or what have you heard from the publishers?
I mean, I think as Guylaine was saying, you know, there have been a wide range of reactions to the new funding model, not just in the publishing community, but I think across the entire arts community. But you know, the response is always the same. You know, we're here to listen and we're here to help. So please don't hesitate to give your program officer a call if you have a specific one that you work with. And if they're not the best person to answer your question, they will help point you in the direction of who you can talk to.
Okay. What's the website address? Is it easy or not so easy?
CanadaCouncil.ca.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
And any publishers that are listening to this, again, they're directed to where they should go once they hit the website. Is that it?
Yeah. And even before creating a profile, there's kind of a test spot on the website, on the portal, where you can select, if you're an individual, an organization, or a group, you can select your field of practice and your particular role in that field of practice. And you'll get directed to a list of potential components of our programs to which you may apply, you may be eligible to apply. So it gives an idea, without having to go through the whole process of creating a profile, give an idea of, okay, I have those 6 components I could apply to. That's interesting. I'm going to create a profile and get more information. So you can do it in 30 seconds, just to give you an aperçu. How do you say an aperçu in
overview.
English?
Mm-hmm.
An overview.
Yeah. Okay. Who are your favorite publishers?
Can't say that.
What was your favorite book of the last year?
That's not something I don't know if I can answer that.
No.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
been so many.
Okay, well, thanks very much for spending this time with me. And, publishers can call you up and they can
do.
let you know how
do.
they feel, right?
Yeah. And we are in touch also with the publisher associations.
Yes. What's her
No.
name again? Kate Edwards?
Kate and Richard in Montreal. So we're in contact. We do talk. We are aware of some of the concerns. We are aware of some of the growing pains, and we discuss them. And we talk to our colleagues at Canadian Heritage. So, I mean, the questions you asked us were not surprising. We do have those conversations, and we are, as you mentioned, devoted. We are really committed to make this work, and it does work. And in the end, it's such a better picture than where we were like 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Better because it's what?
Better because it's more inclusive, because it is streamlined, because we're better able to be accountable to the government of what we're doing with public money, because it's more flexible, because there's more resources available to
It's a big one.
the communities. That's not a bad one.
Yeah.
So I think there are many more positive points. Any change
Yeah.
requires some kind of flexibility and open-mindedness and getting used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think in the end, there's a lot more positive than negative points.
There are some beautiful publishing companies in Canada out there, and I just hope that they continue to get the funding that they need to produce the beautiful books that they do.
Yeah, we should be very, very proud. And I would like to end on a very positive note. We, Canada, are going to be the guest of honor in Frankfurt in 2020.
Yeah.
And we'll have an opportunity to really shine and put under the spotlight those beautiful books you're talking about.
Very good. Well, we'll look forward to that.
Great.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Ghislaine Normandin, who's the Director of Supporting Artistic Practice, Felipe Diaz, who's the manager of that program, and Lynn Danil, who's a program officer at the Canada Council in Ottawa. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.